Nam la jam chu pa tu da ni jam su chi da ni chu ni ji pe som nam pi do la pen chu san je du pa shu.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Geshe Ngawang.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Anyway, very great to see you again. Also, good opportunity to study about Buddhism for this current place, this current time. Usually we don't have much time to positively to study, We always looking for our family activities and our other life things. Anyway, when we study Buddhism, we think about what is Buddhism, what benefit we study Buddhism. Actually, all over the world, we have many different kind of religions. We have to accept, respect all the religions. All the religions to benefit of sentient beings. Then what religion you can follow, this is up to you. Same as food. There are many different kind of foods. Chinese food, Mexican food, Indian food, American food, then hamburger. Right? Or whole food, then all the foods benefit to feed our stomach, keep our body strong. Then what food you like? Up to you. If you like to spicy, go to Indian restaurant and Chinese restaurant, they're very spicy. But India is also not very good, same as India here, right? Not much taste. Same as Chinese food. And I don't know, hamburger, I like hamburger here. But you guys may be a little scared, right? They become very big. Anyway, therefore, Buddhism is, with this, we study Buddhism. 상지 좀 된 얘기, 더 줄여서
So the teachings of the Buddha, or the experiential practice in the Buddha himself.
Okay. Buddha is 2,500 years. He born India, Nepal. The Limbanese. Some India said it's India, Nepal said it's Nepal. I don't know. Anyway, he born there, same as us. He have father and mother. Then first he get married. He's one family of king's boy. They get married, then he have also one son. Then after he see that all the sentient beings always problems. Big problem, small problem, middle problem, Usually we can go to maybe the shopping malls or the many people, everybody in Alulas, they can do their things as long as we don't see their problems. But if we go to park malls, dimmer, then everybody has their own problem, you know. Then Buddha saw people, all the sentient beings have suffering of the
Birth.
suffering of the birth, suffering of the age, suffering of the die. Usually, original people doesn't accept the age is suffering because was acceptable.
So we don't want to be aged, right? We don't want to get old.
But if you don't accept it as a suffering, right? You say, oh, I made it, I'm suffering. That you don't see, you don't identify it as suffering. But you don't want to age, right? Because there is no one to say their age exactly, right? We always say just birthday. They don't want to say, exactly the month, year, special year. If you say year, then everybody knows, right? It's also particularly, I think this country, I don't know, maybe Asian countries, maybe, I don't know, right now, before they don't mind. Then we don't want to people see very age, very, we say just heavy. We don't want to see this thing, right? But we don't accept this as suffering. But it is a suffering. Then die, dies. We don't want to die, right? Everybody have to, lot of plans, right? In the, maybe what call adults, they want to get married, they want to baby, then the baby has a baby, they want to grandparents, they want to retirement, we have a lot of plans, we don't want to die. Anyway, Buddha saw all the problems. Then he said, okay, there are a lot of problems, a lot of sufferings in this beings, then what can we do now? Then he meditation, then cheap enlightenment. Cheap enlightenment we call Buddhahood. Buddhahood means free from all the sufferings. Big, small, medium, anyway, doesn't matter. All the sufferings finish. No suffering. This
So when you become Buddha, you are free from all these sufferings.
Otherwise, we don't know where's Buddha. We don't see which place Buddha, But Buddha means the person who abandons all the sufferings, all the non-virtues. Abandoned. This kind of person, he or she is called Buddha. In other words, we say, oh, Buddha, I don't know, where the place, maybe 500 feet above there, maybe above the Himalayan mountain, Not that kind, The person, he or she, free from all the sufferings. Then suffering, what suffering? Suffering we have mental suffering or physical. No. Okay, I think I changed now my language. Okay, goodbye to Tibetan. Now we call it my English. Goodbye to my English. And now we have Tibetan class, maybe next year, I can teach Tibetan, then everybody can understand. Anyway, today is that kind of
So the things that we don't wish, there are two kinds. You can, show down to two things: the physical and mental things that we don't want.
Today is that country. Today dunga drawback tapshi. Any tapshi mo nyamne jela ta sanji chulu sashi.
So that method that we apply, to be free from those sufferings of the mind and the body, is what we call the teachings of the Buddha.
Ani penata lor jashi bena thaba imba na pena. Ani me kangega. To the good tamsam yapo shwa na ta me dunga mare ta sangro de so. Ta tirim jashi ba ta 이 자치 바로 대륙 좁지 좀 되게 가올래 미가게다 다 또다 그다 땀슨 야고셔나 아니 밑에 강이요 말이 그래서
during the maybe 18th century, people used to think that if you have food, shelter, clothing, and fame, then you will have no problems at all.
주도될 정의요.
Do you think that if we have all those things, we don't have any problems?
봐. 나도 남주강이지 또나 고세도 간 거야. 둘로 그래야 당 갈아서야 당 가마대도 주고 답이 많이 동안치 그랬어.
So we do have the sufferings of not finding enough food, right? If there is no enough food, if there is no enough clothes to wear, then no place to live, no proper place to live, and so forth, then we go through many problems and we experience suffering for that, right?
We have to pay all the bills, right? That is taught in the was. They might not do it was. So, any 땀하고 그러나 땀 보고 그래서 아니 또 그 땀으로 아니 지금 가지 몇 관계 딱 돌아피야지 두자리 말아서 무시 땀 보고 그래서 땀땀듯이 서로 야보지 말.
So we need food, we need clothing, and we need fame. We don't want people to talk bad about us, right? We always want to hear people talk good about us.
아니 년도 왔어요. 다 잠을라 관계이지. 몇 개라지 뭐 어떻게 나서 거기 그래서 뭔가.
And the fame, right? So we want to be famous, so understood or recognized by all the people in the world.
얘나야. 다 대승가 차선 좀 봐야나야. 아니 다 밀라 다 강이 요래서 누가 생각으로 말했어.
So even if you have all those three things, the food, clothing, and fame, we still have a lot of problems, right? We're not free from all other problems.
당간소라도 된지 또다 그 땀승식 semtim하고 간 당간소도 그 요마되나 다 된지 명령이 요래서 와 그게 뭐냐.
So right here in our case here, of course we don't have that problem of not having enough food or clothes, and so forth. But there are people in the world who have these difficulties.
아니 된지마다 빼차셔 이나스 빼나 또그 땀승 간지지 야와이나 간지 다 수수 셈나 내쯤에 와이나 아니 다 지워요 말해서 와.
So no matter how much food, clothes, and fame we have, if our mind is not at peace, then we'll not be happy, right?
빼차셔와이나 다 담을라야 세상에 깨러 침보. 그래서 다 아니 땅다 연좌요래 아니 다 그래 다 지금 시롱치고 전에 다 당해요 말 왔어.
For example, the famous people like singers and so forth, they have no problems of the food, clothes, and fame, of course, right? But they still have other problems, right?
와 근데지 며칠 올랐나 미간게 사이세다 다 죽어도 와서 나는가.
And so if some famous singer come out in the street, people will all rush towards him or her to get his autograph, right?
Right? 관심이 된지로다 옛날 된지 망보를 하시자고 용도 와.
So there are so many people like that, but then these people, there's also some of these people who commit suicide.
와 된지다 대화 몇백 딸 또그 땅서 여와 등지 대화 좋고 대화 깨끗하다는 요식을 했어.
So that shows that there is no happiness, right? Even if they have food, clothes, and fame, but they're not happy.
와 어디지? 아니 미카지 땀 되는 년에 수수 샘라야 지 미 야보 지 통하야 제대 수보 야랑 토마토 깽이 여와이나야 지 어떤 잡네. 아니 미 용도 왔다 샘 권한 거지 뭐다가 제도 요삼아 여와이나 나 제고도로 다 미게지 야본 통하야 간지 샘에 생기되나 근데 수보 가서 깔려가나 어떻게 하는 거 왔어.
So if people have that strong will, in their mind, to do something, then even if they are very poor physically, or very old or very sick, but they still, if their mind is strong, then they can force themselves, to do, even if they are very weak or sick.
You can check, some older people. Look at them maybe no very good work, then we try to help. They said, no, I have to. And I'm not cheating like it was.
No, I can take care of myself.
What to 땅아주 찍바레스 간데서 세나 나자 주무시고 땅아는 제토 수치에 레고 메스 다 지금 걔나 아니 다음에 즉 수보하다 메워도 미트 동거래서네 그러면서 나도 나빠지는 가려서
So these people they have the pride, thinking that they can take care of themselves. They don't want to feel that they're weak and they're old and they need to depend on other people. They don't want to, they don't want to feel like that. And but otherwise, what worse would it be if somebody were to come and help him or her, right?
얘나 당아도 샘 당아도 치바라 나도 샘게 야보지만 둘 맡아봐 얘나 아니 다 누가 보지 샘 그런 게 죄예요.
And so, if we are not able to subdue our mind, then many of the problems are created by this unsubdued mind.
아니 삼로 야보지 따는 나도 지 참아주고 마보지 나도 시전에 실로건 던지라더니 지금 거다 대래 나도 샘거 대 마다 치아당 그래서
And so, if we think carefully about the problems that we face, of course, there are some of them that are contributed by the factors from our side, but it is mostly, made it bigger, by our own mind.
좋아. 다들 저랑 나눠서 지금 딱 제시다. 레드 문두대 배 자샤바는 대리 나눠서 미치거나 콘도 사바 있나? 아니 대리 지금 딱 개체 준주리 전에 콘도 사바 있나? 아니 대 전세 대신에 아니 단대 나랑 막이 받쳐서 나를 특두 잘 납서 나를 미몽몽 가서 납서 대리 전세는 콘도 말만 나도 나도 와서.
So, for example, like if someone were to say a bad thing to you, he said or she said it once only, but then your mind might think that, oh, he said that, and he said this in front of many people, he said it this way, he said it that way, and so your mind makes it, makes it even bigger and bigger, adding more and more information like that.
여봐, 근데 이마다는 수수 삼라이치 남자다. 아니 공도 말만 나는 거죠.
And so when you think like that, then you become, more and more, angry and you feel more and more anxiety, right?
얘나 근데 저한테는 가지고 세면 누가 망아져요, 가지고 신경 말했어.
But we don't understand, that by thinking in that way, we're creating more and more problems for ourselves.
여봐, 근데 요다데 숑 차바랬다, 숑나, 그 차바랬다, 다 차바를 봤을 텐데, 근데 마용을 탑시 다 먹어봐야 되겠지 말아봐.
So what happened is already happened. So no point thinking too much about that, right? What is more important, is to not repeat the same kind of mistake again in the future.
근데로 간지 안에 산지 좀 된데가 랑그 샘네 용선 너는 산지 담바 용선을 했는데 수수 샘대 다 나쁘자고요. 그래서.
And so just like Buddha said, subdue your mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. And so taking care of one's mind is very important.
배나 가디마나 잠을 와간가 나를 지체 마소 나를 야폴라 마소 나 타는 마소도 용도 was.
So all the problems that we feel or face is all because of thinking, oh, they didn't do this to me, they did this, that, they did that to me, and so forth, right? So it's all because of thinking that what people did or what people didn't do for you.
근데 이빨라 다 내 조보, 내 종모, 내 남이라 야포체 마소스네 된 거였어.
And then it's so first is to yourself, and then comes the mine, to you and to me and mine, right? And so to my friend, to my family, to my neighbors, and so forth.
아니 간돌아야 자다 니 밤았음 강사 말았음 마시고 말했어.
So people outside, there are only three different kinds, right? Either it's a friend, enemy, or strangers, right?
So, 아니 마보지 딱 한소씩 삼로케 마당에서 바라는 말이 틀어는 거리 간데 다 용어로 왔어. 전체 발마세시.
So the strangers, those who you don't have any relationship with, connection with, who haven't done anything bad to you or who you haven't done anything bad,
근데 임바다 던져 semje 차상 집방 말아서 나지 특도자 권이 들어오고 말해 아니 그 가지 레슨 갈라 동아치는 용이 보여 말 집방했어.
So all these sentient beings are same in wanting to have happiness and not wanting any sufferings and so forth like ourselves.
근데 임바에서 다 지금 소소 지금 코로나가 있네. 야, 다 이제 그 마시방 말이 봐 몸에 왕가 단들이 놓고 누구 사람이 지금도 쌈 토가 있나 아니 그 코너를 나야 되는 용거를 했어.
And so if we are able to think like when somebody somebody gets angry towards us or says something bad, and then if we are able to think like, oh, this person is saying this or doing that because of out of ignorance, because not knowing what is right and what is wrong and so forth, and so he's not really to be blamed for what he said, and so he himself is under the influence of this ignorance and so forth. So if we think like that, then our mind will be more at peace.
대마장하지 다 나는 말아와시 막혀지 계속 살아야나 나도 그런 마음으로 그랬어.
And so instead, if we just blame that person and say, oh, he did this to me, he did that to me, and so forth, then we get even more and more angry towards that person and more and more unhappy.
어때 그걸 나는 손을 쥐고 먼저 왔어.
It's true, right? So that when we get angry, we wouldn't become happy either.
그걸 쥐고 용해요.
So do you feel happy when you're angry?
Anybody have experienced that angry, but when we got angry, then we are not feel comfortable. 근데 이제다 만로 수직 수수 등한되고 문제가 있나? 아니 등하 용어가 있게 돼. 다 명어서 그래서.
And so if we don't want to have any sufferings, then we should stop creating the cause for the sufferings.
근데 등하 용어가 저 데이터 수수지랑 나나 삼대 지금 뒤로 뒤침어지 말했어.
So the main cause for the sufferings that we experience is the ignorance, the grasping at the self.
근데 마슈 침보 선대는데 근데 가와도 대소도 직세다. 저는 얘기도 했습니다.
And so there's this mind, which holds very strongly to this I, right? And if you look for that I, look for that mind, grasping strongly to that I, so will you be able to find it?
근데 나한테 쉬도 여대나 나도 너는 요 말했어.
So the I that we grasp at, does that I really exist? And yeah, there is I. I is there. I'm there. I'm here. I'm talking and so forth. I'm there. I'm listening and so forth, right? So, but that I, the I that appears to us, is not, the I that really exists.
For example, we call Sidep. This guy, his name is Sidep, Mr. Sidep, from India.
So his body is his body Sudip?
Do you guys accept his body is Sidep? What was?
36,000. I didn't understand.
Sidep. Maybe you could just explain me. Okay, I'm the Geshe now. As my body is me. What do you think? You guys think my body is me?
No.
내 수보는 나이 바이나 나시에서 담아란 게 수보 표기 그래 로건 루시아 나왔으니 까만 도움이도
So if my body is me, then when I die, my body will be in the coffin, and I'm not there, right? That's not me, right? That's my body, my dead body. So if my body is I, then that should be, that body that's lying in the coffin should be me also, right? So we don't say I body, we say my body, right? So this is the difference, it's the same, just as my book is not me, my body is not me either.
It's exactly the same, there's nothing different. My body is what do you call it?
So my body is included within my continuum, but it's not me. So what about my mind? Is my mind me?
What do you think? You think you guys think your mind is your mind is you? You don't say that. You say my mind. You don't say I'm mind. You can always, when you talk, you just look at and the same session.
So when we talk, we make it pretty clear by saying me and my, right?
Then my mind is not me, right? Then where? What
about my brain? Is my brain me?
All right, same. We call my brain. We don't say I'm brain. Therefore, we think about investigation that. Usually we think I'm this person, we don't think how we exist. We think about whatever we think, whatever we imprint, but no. Appear that way. But this is not true. Therefore we lot mistakes. Right? Usually we think I'm the person who can just get out with nice things. This is not really just our face. Today, but the country, I said, and also none of you are to some of the
So if we think in that way, then we will find out that I do not exist the way they appear to us.
Think on it. This is not just making the Buddhism them some role, right? There's no role, They just make it what?
Reality.
Reality, right? Reality, we have to investigation things. What exists, how they exist. But usually we don't think that also we never ever think about that way. And usually
So in Buddhism we talk about selflessness. So when we say selflessness, it means no self, right? So it doesn't mean there's no self at all, it means there's no self that appears to us.
That is sometimes, but it's Buddhism that explains that. But it's true or not, then we have to investigation. Or you can Google maybe. Maybe you can Google. Can you Google maybe? Usually we can find many things in Google. Maybe you don't find, I don't think so. What today by that? I think tendency는 나도 뭐부터 너도 그랬어. 다 너도 왔다 너로 하거나 아니 다 동안으로 그랬어. 동안 이죠. 다 너로 그랬어.
So we're mistaken in this way, So if we understand that we're mistaken in that way, then we can think in the right way, and that way we can have less problems.
But yeah.
So if you use language to understand yourself, then the language is wrong. If you use your mind to understand who you are, the mind is wrong. So what's right?
So it's not the language or the mind that is wrong. So what we're trying to find is the wrong.
Both wrong.
No, we don't say both wrong. For example, how you exist, how you identify me.
You?
Yeah.
Geshe-la.
How you identify me.
I didn't know what to say. I see you. I know you're there. I see your clothes. I see your glasses. I see you're sitting there.
What you see is him or his body?
I see his body.
His body, not him, right?
It's good. It's a good question. Nanzu kare lage nambe ga phongbo ngala tene tabe nga samde ta kangsam thiri sungo reso.
So just like everything else, the eye is also mere level, right? Name. So Geshe-la's body is not Geshe-la, Geshe-la's eyeglass is not Geshe-la, right? So head is not him. So what is Geshe-la? It's a name. Geshe-la is a name given to his aggregate, to the combination, to the group of his aggregates, like body, mind, and so forth, and that's called Geshe-la. So that is Geshe-la, right? Because that can do all the things all the things that Geshe does.
So Geshe is an aggregate of
No.
everything Geshe is and does and says and thinks.
Thomas.
다 공부를 왔어요.
봉봉을 no. Therefore, you got to be identified. 근데다 빼차샤와나 얘들이 수보고 속다는 데가 때는까지 맞춰도 따니 간단 맛에 줘도 계시가 줘도 무슨 도움이 그랬어. 내가 지난게 메로나 따니 동발을 메이크업 쉬고 그냥 샤드야 그냥 메이크업 쉬고 했더니 수수 동발을 메이크업 쉬고 고쳐놓은 거 왔어. 따봐. 따봐랬더니 가지 대 제가 고쳐놓은 거 따봐들 지웠더니 된다 공부만 했더니 더빙 딱 계시라서 이제 무슨 도와이나 딱 계시라서 무슨 돈으로 그래서 그러니까 고쳐버렸어요.
딱 점들어다.
That this is complicated, not easy, okay?
That's
So
what I'm saying.
it's not Geshe body, it's not Geshe aggregate. That's Geshe. It's the name, it's the label or the name that's label or name that's given to Geshe. So given to the body, to the body, mind, and the aggregate, Geshe as Geshe. So that name, that label, is the is the Geshe. It's not the body, it's not the mind.
It's complicated. It's if you know,
I'm gonna write it down. Think
no,
about it.
you didn't study, many, we have to study a lot. Otherwise, sometimes not make sense that what we talk about. But if we investigation is one by one, it's true, right? Yeah, my glass is not me, my hair is not me, my body is not me, my leg is not me. Inside, outside, we can just investigation, not me, right? These are my body, my leg, my stomach, my glass. Yeah. We have driven it. My and me and my, we have always, we can, what call it? We can divide two, right? It's the same as my husband, my wife. It's same my body, we have two different. Look at it, but we have to think about lot is also study more, then make more sense. Okay, what is your question?
I about the same question as who Geshe is, and in general, I love this topic of who am I, or what am I, or what the person is. It's fascinating for me. But anyway, I was going to say that when Geshe asks you who Geshe is, for me, I see your body, and that triggers. I have this concept of who Geshe is. I met you a few times. I went to this class. I talked to you. So I have this concept of who you are, and seeing you, talking to you, triggers that. And that's one concept that I have. We have, 2,000 people here. Everyone has a different concept of who Geshe is, and that's all different, including probably Geshe concept of Geshe himself, I presume. That's something that occurred to me.
Geshe Koran 속에 다 지금 똑바로 해서 미상한테 코란게다 Geshe 모신게 Geshe 통보를 Geshe다 계제 그거 때 이제 되는 코란게다 Geshe라는 코란게 삼라 지금 똑바로 개교해서 코란 Geshe라서 똑바로 개교해서 한 미상한테 라 미니쇼는 미니쇼도 똑바로 미다래서 똑바로 미다래서
What do you think?
다 되게 Geshe라서 하는 거죠.
There's some, yeah, so what he's saying is that that he's trying to make a difference between the basis of designation, meaning the
body.
So
Aggregate.
yeah, if you Geshe is a complicated subject. So if you take a simpler
Don't
subject,
say that.
if you take a simple thing like the table,
Yeah.
what we don't do is we don't make this difference between the name and the concept that we apply to this basis of designation. So this piece of wood, this piece of wood, this piece of wood, these 3, 4, the top of the table, the legs of the table. Based on this, we assign a label, and we don't make this difference in our minds that these 3 pieces of wood are. If we go to find the table in this piece of wood, we won't find it. So we don't make this difference between the basis of designation and the label that is designated on this basis. And because we are constantly mixing them up. We think, we don't analyze, but we think that we can find the table if we go to look for the table. But we don't actually look for the table. We think we will find it, but we don't actually look for it. And that's, to me, that's a mistake, that because it appears to be existing it appears that there's some essence over there that we can find if we actually go to find it, but we don't actually go to find it, we assume it. So,
Make sense? What he said? And the channel I okay.
Well, I'm wondering if the difference is between the conventional sense and the ultimate sense, that all of these things, your hair, your body, your glasses, those are Geshe-la in the conventional sense, but in the ultimate sense, Geshe-la doesn't exist. Why none of us exist, if that's the difference.
단단보다 공주들보다 단단한 기와이라 했어요. 다 저랑에서 보대 저랑데 내가 단전하다 단단한 공주들 되는 게 싫어했어. 아니 단단한 게 싫어도 요 말했어. 내가 말했어.
다 꾸준히 다니는 살아야 돼. 꾸준히 해서. 된도되면 매사는 것도 된도되면 그래서 말했어.
네.
저는 다들 된도되면 된도도 연락 말아서 나는 지요 그래서. 나는 말아서 지금 단다 스텝 사는 지금 주는 가만도 좀 맞아 좀 가가 마셔 주니. 소소 가능한 대대 싸움도 대 다 조선은 다 된도도 들고 그래서.
So again, here there's a different definition about the ultimate truth and the conventional truth. So in general, and says the conventional Geshe-la is the Geshe-la that we all see, the Geshe-la that exists, Geshe-la that we see and label as Geshe-la, to his body or to his mind and so forth. So that's Geshe-la and the conventional Geshe-la. So like you say, there's ultimate Geshe-la, there's no ultimate Geshe-la. If there is ultimate Geshe-la, then there has to be Geshe-la that exists from his own side. So that would be ultimate Geshe-la. So because there's no Geshe-la that exists from his own side, or inherently or from his own side, therefore there's no ultimate Geshe-la.
Anyway, what also he said, 다 간장 안 주지라 다 코르 예스담도 똑바로 도와서 다 되게 섬겨야 되는 거는 이래 다 이해만 했으나 다티 되게 똑바로 섬겨야 간이는 것도 따와는 해는 도와서.
So again, talking about what you said about your concept, right? It's a concept about somebody. So yeah, so we have a concept of somebody. That's in our concept. But if we again analyze on that concept of that person, then you will not find that again.
For example, usually with a book, the one paper is not book, two papers not book. You can put all together, then there's a book. That means there was book.
So we call the name, right? The name. This, so when you compile all these papers together and then bind them together, then you call this a book, right? The name.
So if I understand, Geshe-la is greater than the sum of his parts, but he does not exist. That's what I understood.
No, don't say it.
it's not right.
No,
Yeah, the
it's not
Geshe-la does not exist. It's not right.
No, for example, you exist, right? If we say you, Nathan not exist, we can see her, she's walking, she has kids, You can read by see me, right? We say, Geshe not exist, this completely wrong. You can see that. You can see that.
So Geshe-la, like you said, Geshe-la does not exist, but ultimately, you can say ultimately Geshe-la doesn't exist. But conventionally he exists.
But this is a very complicated subject, okay? But usually we have to understand this a little bit, try to make less judgment for us. Usually we think whatever we think is correct than being
So because of that wrong conception, and then we have all those other fallen delusions coming from there. Because of thinking, because we don't know the reality, because of not knowing the reality, because out of ignorance, and then we get attachment, then we get pride, we get angry, and so forth. All these delusions comes from that. So that's the root of the delusion. So, of course, it's very difficult to understand completely, but should have some idea about it.
It's very complicated. It's not easy. It's not logic.
So this is the unique, the view or the teaching of Buddhism, which you will not find in the other religions.
But you have to, the Buddha said, I understand all of that, but you have to, investigation, you can check. And then how check, look at the table, cut piece, then we don't find it. Okay, what's your question? Or you have some say?
So I can't say that I understand what you're talking about as far as, you know, how we view reality incorrectly and so on. But I do know that I suffer, for sure. And I'm not sure how this mistaken view of reality leads to my suffering. I think my suffering is definitely, it exists. Right? It's there, it's real. I experience it all the time. So how does my suffering exist? Is it also like this, empty?
Empty is Chiba, it's correct. It's empty, it's not exist of whatever you think this. It is existed, not
So yeah, it is. It does exist, but it does not exist the way it appears to us, or it does not exist from its own side. So it does not exist by itself. There is a cause and condition for it to exist, and so it shows that it does not exist from its own side. So that is the emptiness. So here when we say empty, so empty means no, right? So what is the no here? The negative here is it not exist from its own side. It's empty of existence from its own side. It's not empty, the suffering is not empty itself, but it is empty of existence from its own side. So that's just like that. So just like that, everything that exists is empty of existence from its own side.
This is many things within our mind. For example,
사람이 로다이라 소소가 저기 마리바라 마리바서다 로다세라 대소게 되는 때마다 동화들 가르치는 데가 지고 그랬어.
무시발라 때네 엔다가도 지금 딱 내가 노주모 붙여를 했어. 대 노르발 때네 근데 누가 먹어야
And so also the suffering that you experience, and you understand that that is the result of non-virtuous action, right? So we did something bad, something wrong, and as a result we experience the suffering. And so that non-virtuous action is created by what? What made us to create that non-virtuous action is the delusion, right? Either attachment, anger, jealousy, and so forth, right? So those things. And then where those the anger, attachment, jealousy came from? Of not knowing the reality. So the root of all this, the root of this suffering is the ignorance, the not knowing the reality. Because of not knowing the reality, then we get angry. And out of anger, we create non-virtuous action. And then as a result of non-virtuous action, we experience suffering.
For example, we everybody has very strong
pride.
If you have everybody pride, right? If someone asks her to, oh, you're completely wrong, then automatically our mind is not comfortable, right? We don't want people say that. We don't want to, Papa is some daddy, no one will tell me was. Then my mother was.
No, you know.
No, you don't get some of us. Nation you not something, then no one will tell me the human was.
So, that pride, having pride is wrong, right? It's wrong to have a pride, thinking that I'm right, I'm correct, I know it, and so forth. So there are so many things that we don't know, so many things we're not correct. But still we think like that, so we have that pride. So that's because of ignorance, right? Because of not knowing the reality.
But it's think about, okay? It's true or not? Maybe then it's not true. Just you can check with the different ways. Okay, now we stop here. We have to go. Let's go. Otherwise, it's 2 years ago. This is a basic of Buddhism. First, you need to study basic, then a little bit go up. Usually we talk about the surf. This is a little bit high understanding. You need to more experience about Buddhism, about practice Dharma. Then you can understand. Otherwise, you just become here.
And so those people, who lack wisdom, understanding, if they look in the emptiness, then they might be, they might be deprived. So it means like, they might even lose the things, right?
For example, for us, everybody has. Then first we try to practice, we have to do. Then we say, not exist anything. Say, oh, nothing to do. Right? Well, the child was, 소소 깔에 자기는 거는 제가 다 단다 요 말라도 다 제말 묻는 것도 쌤 주로 왔어.
So because if you don't understand, if you don't have the enough wisdom to understand about the emptiness, then you might misunderstand it, and then it might lead you to the wrong way. So for example, like we talk about doing practice in Dharma, and we talk about I have to be good, I have to do this, and then if there's no I, what's the point of doing all this? So we might think like that. That's a misconception. That's the wrong idea we might develop by thinking that if everything is empty, but that's not what it means. But we have to understand about that. But if we don't understand that, then there's the drawbacks of falling into that extreme.
Okay, I'm sorry. Now we have tracked too many times. Now,
So we were talking about the small skull's path, right?
I think everybody forgot the words. I don't know. 다음으로 냠내다라 제가 전부 춤 들으면 냠내지 그래서
So the practice, there are three practices: the practice of the small scope, medium scope, and great scopes.
제가 주로 정성 세트 소소 끊어라 때내 다 냠내 제동을 하는 그래서.
So the difference of this practice, the small scope, great scope, medium scope is the motivation, right? So it can be the same practice, but because of motivation, it becomes a practice of different path.
다고서 나도 많은 치고 지내서 많은 치는데 내면을 끊어대 나랑 해송이 등알에 타봐쇼 냐면 되니 끊어대 그냥 오만들 내가나 대지고 충사서 말이야.
So for example, if you recite a mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, the compassionate mantra, so while doing that, it says, may I be free from the suffering of the lower realms. For that reason, I'm going to recite this mantra. If you say that, then that becomes a practice of the small scope.
Okay. 다 들으지 만두만 집어야 만두가 다나 내서 동안 타나 주고 배우면서 다나 코에 동안 타고 누구사면 내 말은 기분이 잘 오래서.
So same reciting the mantra, but then you think that it is not enough just to be free from the suffering of the lower realms. I have to free myself from the entire cycle existence. And so for that reason, I'm going to recite Om Mani Padme Hum. If you say that, then that becomes the path of the medium scope.
Just same action, right? But different motivation. 대로 나 코에 동안 타나 배우면 되고 단다야 심지어 망보 안에 다 가리 단단하게 따가지 나타 가리 탐주집에 고마 터무도 다나 사지에 고마 심지어 탐주에도 사지에 고마 터고 능력에 그런 데 그는 내말이나 다 깨우치 못 잡는 거래서.
And then doing the same thing again, reciting the mantra, and then but your motivation is different this time. You think it is not sufficient for just myself alone to be free from the cycle existence. There are all these sentient beings back in the cycle existence. And they've been very kind to me, and it's my responsibility to free them all from the cycle existence. In order to do so, I have to become enlightened myself first. And so for that reason, I'm going to recite Om Mani Padme Hum. Then if you do with that kind of thought, then it becomes a great scopes. So if you do with that kind of thought, then it is more meritorious because you're including all these sentient beings to do that practice, and the purpose for doing that practice is including all sentient beings, so you create an equal number of merit of all sentient beings, and then of course that becomes more powerful to purify the negativities as well.
Right? Usually we think about people who cares others. We say this is a good guy, right? Good guy, good guru, good person, right? Someone just do only that something, then we say, he or she is not really good to it. Usually we say this, right? Therefore, 얘나 된등이 냠내 정어라 제고 친구 용어라 링다 추니가 티 가다 되게 냠내 랑스만 된다고 그랬어.
So of course you have to have proceeded the path of the small scope and middle scope before you can have or engage in the path of the great scope.
You cannot jump. Right? 가르에서 나죠. 아니 다 상지가 고마 토발라 가르면은 상지 고마 토고나 고외등아 아니 다 무드에 상지 고마 토고 그래서 내가 고외등아 다들 따로 제 보러 왔어.
그래서
가르치는 상지 토고나 다 고와도 면서 이게 동아 무드에 아니 상지 고마 토발 들로 제고 그래서 강사 빨리 제고 친구예요. 상지 고마 통도 토고 강사예요. 되게서 배당하고 제대로 가르치는 사제 고마 토고나 그다음에 고와도 면서 이게 동안 되고면도 되다 아니
So, for example, if the person wants to be enlightened, then he that why I want to be enlightened, because I don't want to experience sufferings of the lower realms and the suffering of the psychic system, and for that I have to achieve enlightenment. And so that you have to think on other sentient beings, right? So just as myself, others don't want to be. So in order to free them, help them to be free from that, I have to be enlightened, and so forth. So before you can have that thought, then you have to think about yourself. Yeah? So you yourself, wanting to be free from the suffering of the psychic existence. And then in the psychic existence, the worst of the suffering in the psychic existence is the suffering of the lower realms. So first you have to think about being free from the suffering of the lower realms first. And so in order to have that wish, wanting to be free from the suffering of the psychic existence and to be free from the suffering of the lower realms, then you have to think about the death and impermanence. And so if you don't think about the death and impermanence, then there are 6 drawbacks. So the first one is, if you don't think about the death and impermanence, you will not think about practicing Dharma. So why it helps, is that if you remember death, if you think about the death and impermanence, death, and after you die, then you might be, you will be born again, and then you might be born in the lower realms. So with that thought, so if you don't think about the death, or if you don't think I'm going to die, then you will not think about, you might fall into the lower realms after you die, right? And so, and then when you think about that, so I might die, and if I die, I might fall into the lower realm. And so what will help me to be free from the lower realm, is the practice of Dharma. So then you will think about the practice of Dharma. So that comes from thinking about death. So just like, if we get caught by police, we know that we'll get into trouble, we'll suffer. And in order to be free from that, we'll try not get caught by police, right?
Right. What the thing that Mata Chutan Mares, the Tambo, Tiny Body, that Temana, and Chomata Yabu Matabana, Kadichu Tema, the Chuyabu, that Dukumares.
And so then the second drawback is, if you don't think about about death, then even if you think about practice Dharma, you will not think about will not practice it. Even if you think about Dharma, you will not practice it. So of course we all know that we're going to die eventually, right? But none of us really think that I'm going to die right now. So you will not think about Dharma, you will not, even if you think about Dharma, you will not practice. And then the third one is, even if you practice, if you don't think, you try to practice, but if you don't think about death, and then you will not practice it properly. And so that's I think where we fall, right? Most of us here. We do think of practicing Dharma, but then because we don't think about death, therefore we don't really practice it properly.
And George and George and the same thing chat and they shoot about a carpet essay, and they take on the Koreas on my bares. One of Shima Devakan and Shima Yasola and the Pemmy shoot Chimada and the Yawashi Dashi to Lucia Somares.
So somebody asked a question to Lama Disha. So what happens if you practice Dharma only for this life? And then he said, then it's only going to be for this life. If you practice Dharma for this life, then it's only going to be for this life. Then he asked, what will happen to the next life? Because you haven't practiced Dharma for the next life you fall into the lower realms.
다 대치로 치도 사서 마치나 취셔를 되는 게 소지에서 하나 거기도 왔어.
So if you don't, pay attention to what it's saying, then you might understand that you fall into the lower realm of present dharma.
대 말해서 가는 주등에서 제가 정말 팬들이 재매와서 아니 주제는 저는 대단한 면서 말했는데 제가 정말 되게 내가 뭔가 매와서 앞에 배도 말았어.
So what you practice dharma for is for this life, right? So the result is experience in this life, and because you have been practicing in dharma in the next life so dharma for the next life, and but you have so much of all these negative karmas incredible since beginner's time, and then as a result of those negative karma, you're going to fall into the lower realm.
만주질라 먹게와 몸부 예배 따다 따가서 제제 몸부가서 내라고 하고 그래서.
And so there are so many signs and proofs to show that we have so much negative karma created since beginner's time.
What signs can you guys find? Give me an example.
Can you find a science? What are we talking about? What science?
We said because we have a lot of negative karma. We said I don't have negative karma. Why? I didn't kill anyone. I didn't fight. We said why are that? Right? 나도 책에도 저도 책에도 했어.
Do you think like that?
Right, we don't kill it. You can kill. We don't kill. We don't hate anyone. We said why we have a lot of negative karma. 대교배 따라면서 주저가 쓰지 고노사를 납성하세.
So did anybody teach you that sign is that did anybody teach you to become angry?
No, we don't want to teach that. And 맞아. 다도 제대로 쓰지 남아서
Pride, jealousy. Nobody taught us to be that, right?
대제다 대제와 마음보니 공대와다. 너도 멍어술래기도 왔어.
So, but because we are accustomed, with those since beginner's lifetime, therefore they come automatically, right?
그거 가리나 좀 내 깜봐. We just switch. Very easy to switch. Okay, turn on the switch. Right? Very easy. They shows we have a lot of negative karma. We really get the previous life. We believe the what call it?
So there's no beginning to the life.
어떻게 인자? 담도 좋대 사실라서. 이거. 다때 사실 선바된 사람은 그러지. 딱 가는 정도 되는 때는 그러고.
And so we're now on the third one, right?
Third one.
The third drawback, which is.
Do you see page number?
So it's in the outline number 125. Outline number 125. If you have different kind of books.
125?
Yeah, outline number 125.
The page number?
The blue one is on page 295. This one.
Okay. 다디 호텔 좋아디 호텔. 아니 조지가 아니 센터 코나. 선만 저거지 나는 저거때 코나니 심하지 야와지 다지 들로시. 지만 저거 그냥 소리 계속 말해서.
So this is in the next page, on the short paragraph there. It says, "Ask me what the result of thinking only about this life are, and I will tell you, they are merely the results of this life. Ask me what will happen in your next life, and I will tell you, you will be reborn in hell, and reborn as hungry-birds, reborn as animals."
시소마 대다 천바다 잡아면 다 천바당 그래 천마토마 예스 다 천바다 집어쳐서 그래 다들 주 손다 바는 바로 버치가 강가 자와라고 해서 다 주도 천바다 집어려고 그랬어. 지고 맞잖아. 되는 사실. 천바다 천 마토마 예스 취셔바라 토마토 세대로 당고 되려. 그래. 다 취지주의자 다 전라고 당고 그래서 대정부에서 말하면 대출들로 당해야 돼요. 아니 정부에서 말이에요. 다를 마토가 침배 루통이 지대다 루통이 뭔데 일단 지대 취지들이에요.
그래서 더 김바사에 가서
대손에 천바나 천 마토 바이스 다 천바다 집어쳐서 그래. 천바나 천 마토 바이스.
맞다. 내가 삼당에서 이러서. So here it says, right, in other words, you will achieve a few resultant benefits in this life, and your next life will result in you are going to the lower realms. if you act like this, you are no different, from a lay person. So maybe this teaching was, given to the monks at that time, and so it's saying that, to the monks, if you think like that, then you are no different from a lay person.
Usually lay person have to take care of their family, the firm, the lot to do that. They have not much time to think about future life. Anyway, that's what it is. That choose about Thomas Tenley down the race. They Tenley down there, they are that almost came out of the
And so, so in order to practice Dharma, first you have to give up this life. So here it says that giving up this life doesn't mean that you become a pauper, beggar or something like that, homeless.
That 안에 추들다. 대단전나 추면에 난조와 추초거네 조월랑에 공 시야고 레코메셔나리 시송에 대라 편방 편토고 말해서 원나 지다시나 지된 추제를 통해서 말해서.
And so, so if you don't give up this life, then no matter what you do, it doesn't become Dharma. So that's why then it says, a yogi, chakchucho. So as a teacher, should I meditate, should I teach, or sometimes teach and sometimes meditate? A teacher said to each, this will not help chakchucho. Then asked, asked what he should do, and was told, give up worldly things.
What is on Bataras? 추진념은 나치 만들자마스 추니 체니 추발로바 게말로 추지 통보 세들로 단다 라게 jel라도 ком문데 다스타 제가 추바에 가서 그런 다지 실로에 따야 추도 뭐 만들어 봐야 나야 제가 다 추바에도 도지네도 마데스 추세다 담보 세들로 단다데 데릴로다 소리가 도도 다 아세요.
And then Lama Gyamba also said that you fools, you haven't succeeded in a single type of practice, yet you are proud of being Dharma practitioners. And see whether you have the first of all Dharmas in your mind stream, ignoring this life.
You guys give up this life? So, that means not you give up your wife, your children, your kids. Not that talk about, okay? That's the order to what? 취소받아 주단지 된 안에서 둘립에 현실아 그 주전바 동안 상양 대외 추랑 취소받아 주단지 된지 장가연 봐 나라서 그래서 보대에 된 갑센지 제 그러 갑센지 범용소 받아 저와 맞는 ছে들 루다만 민주식 ছে들 루다 맞으나 년바
And then also Geshe Tolongpa once told another, it is good, my Lord, if you practice generosity, but better still to practice Dharma itself. So practicing generosity is not a practice of Dharma, right? It says if you don't give up this life, and if you don't give up this life or ignore this life and just keep on practicing other things, then that doesn't become Dharma practice. And it says Geshe Potapa also said, you cannot sew with the two pronged needles. If you do not think about that, you will not ignore this life. If you do not ignore this life, you will be controlled by the eight worldly concerns, being happy if you acquire and unhappy if you do not, being happy if you if comfortable and unhappy if not, happy if famous, unhappy if not, happy if praised, unhappy if criticized. And so this is talking about the eight worldly concerns.
excuse me. 내리고 삼선데 다 제대로 당고 그래서 내 마타나니 가디나 다 체크만 채워도 체득이 체 누도 용어 체 그래서.
And so these eight worldly concerns, you have to give up. If you don't give up these eight worldly concerns, then whatever you do, falls into doing for this life, to have happiness, to have fame and name and so forth for this life. And so these are eight worldly concerns, and we should not fall into those thoughts. But we always fall into that, right? We are happy if we are praised, right? So when we acquire something, we are happy, right? When we gain something, we are happy. If we lose something, we are unhappy, right?
If boss doesn't pay you well, then you can get angry, right? He said, why he doesn't pay me? So, and 소소 대화지 쇼나 가와. 근데 소소 대화 맞으면 못 가는 거죠. 다 셈마 춤추셔도 와서.
So if we are comfortable, we are happy, right? And if we are not comfortable, we become unhappy.
그러면 상소. 어떻게든 다 가서 내가 다 루타게 땅 거든 내는데 땅 조절을 해서.
So this is what we have to give up. Can we give this up?
Maybe say, okay, no, I'm not available to practice Dharma. Just put that book says.
So, the thing looks like it might become hopeless, right? This is what we have to do.
He says not available. But then the zoo is in the day that you're not doing about some go or Hakshiva, Shiva, the Pengo.
So you have to understand, you have to understand these eight worldly concerns, and then apply this into practice.
And then Namaya, so Terra Johnson, I'm saying about the Chapana Geshe Ngawang said, Nimaji, that Namji, that Joshua Shango, Nimaji Korangi, that Gengede, Koransa Yongo Yuaza, and they teach cheddar. And that day, you want Yabon or cheddar, and Korangi. The Yabon Toya cheddar, and he has a pit of mat, this and all. Goes Koran some dollars. And the Koran to the Wakon, the Tala Tela Kidani, that's the Ghana.
So once Geshe Ngawang, who was in his hermitage, doing his practice, and one day he heard that his sponsor is going to come and visit him, and then usually he doesn't make that much offerings, but then that day when he heard his sponsor is going to come and visit him, he made more offerings, and then more offerings to show off to the sponsor, saying that he is seriously practicing and so forth. So then when he sat down, after he arranged the offerings, and he sat down and checked his motivation and why he was doing that, and he realized that he was doing that to impress his sponsor. So then it became to gain a praise from the sponsor. And so because he did for that, and immediately then he grabbed a handful of ashes and then spread it over the offerings.
어다 니마 대인가 아니 이게 몇 가지 주텔에 야진 담을 지는 제마서 무슨 아니 콩을 지대 주요나 테라 주서 무슨 대성스러
And so there was another lama who saw that through his clairvoyance, and he said that was the best offering the Geshe Ngawang made. He threw ash on the face of the eight worldly concerns.
But actually we do this with the sky could that.
So that's the difference between the worldly activities and the Dharma activities.
If you can think that someone do this, you just kick out it. Stop it there. I think we can stop here, otherwise it doesn't go on. Next time, we just go through, okay? I think this will be the truth. Then any questions? Any different ideas? Yeah.
Well, what if you give up the eight worldly concerns, but you don't have confidence in the next life, and so you give it up to be happier in this life? Because the eight worldly concerns don't really lead to happiness.
So how will you lose happiness in this life if you give up eight worldly concerns?
How would you lose happiness? No. You don't lose happiness giving up. You gain happiness by giving up the eight worldly concerns.
Yes. So but your question was, how will it give happiness in the next life?
No, what if your motivation was to have happiness in this life because you don't have confidence in the next life?
So you give up the eight worldly concerns
But you
to
still
have
give up
happiness in this life?
Yes.
Because you don't have confidence. Okay. 지금 저기 봐야 되나? 나 지금 저 봐야 되는 세대기 체도 지금 저기 봐봐 있나? 가서 체치만 거라 이제 내가 봤지.
아니네.
나는 세대기 체도네 거의 가서 지금 저기 봐봐는 되게 변경을 했어요.
별이라 체는 지대 주면은 체는 거 따면 돼. 가래. 답답돼 로데 된대 용어 왔어. 그러냐.
Yeah, so even if in this life you will have less problems, right? If you give up all your concerns, and you will have, it will be easier for you to deal with people. You will have less problems if you don't have those expectations.
근데 또그 땀사 되는 가지고 또 땀사에 가지고 쉬고 타가지고 용어 왔어.
And so so if you do something to gain, for this life, and then then it becomes everybody concerns, right? And so if you do something to have a fame in this life, then that becomes everybody concerns.
Therefore, you can give up. You don't believe that nothing. If someone can give up just this life, it's a big benefit, no? 그것도 제대로 가지고 소소라.
세대도 가질러다 말이야.
그때 땅 가지고
세대도 년반 맞춰놔서는 싸움을 넘어라.
용타겠는데 용타 된지.
세대는 년반 전화서 싸움.
전화 맞아도 싸움 타고 말하다.
So I don't know if you be able to practice all your concern for this life. In this life, for this life you want to have a gain, right? Don't you want to have something? Don't you want to have a gain in this life? Don't you want to have to gain something? You want to be happy if you acquire something in this life?
I want to have less suffering, right? So
no,
the neighborly concerns.
And what the concern means, like gain, right?
way.
So if you're happy, if you gain something, you're happy. If you don't gain, you become unhappy. If somebody praise you, you become happy. If somebody don't praise you, you become unhappy.
Right,
So
but
how would that help, in this life, right? Because in this life you want to be happy. So if somebody praises you, you'll be happy, right? If somebody, if you gain, you'll be happy.
But if you try to be happy by getting people to praise you or doing things so that people will praise you, it's not really going to make you happy. The happiness is it doesn't really last very much. It's, you might feel a little bit better at the moment that they praise you, but you put in all this effort just to make somebody praise you, and maybe they won't praise you anyway.
그래서 세대라도 편이다.
이제 근데 이런 거 배웠어.
말다 세대라도 그런 것들 제발은 세대라더라. 이걸 뭐라? 그때 주스기를 뭐라? 세대라 집어라. 세대 주스라. 거기서
가죠.
나 세대로 당바이나? 나는 세대로 바로 세대로 당바서다. 나
세대기 이때
지금 저기로 당바이나? 나는 세대를 기본 몰았어.
세대를 같이 소소 자마로 용어로. 근데 소리지 때와 때그래서 그때는 되게 맞는 것도 가오요 말았어. 근데 내가 이제 그 제로 맞이나 그런 하면 따서는 아주 되게 강하게 용어로.
So yeah, of course, it will help because if you don't have that expectation, so somebody will praise, so then I'm going to do that. If you don't have that expectation and you just do it, then and if you praise, then that's good. If you don't praise, you'll not be unhappy.
For example, the kids wish to their birthday, parents give some special things. They wish they're waiting. Then they're doing that, they don't get them, they get uncomfortable. For us, I don't know, maybe adults we don't have, but most people.
So when they have this expectation to get a good birthday gift, when they don't get it, then they become unhappy. So yeah, so if you don't, if you just ignore it, whether you gain or not, if you just don't, if you just feel indifferent, whether you get a present or not, and then you'll be happy, right?
I have one.
So yeah, of course, I think it might help in this life.
I have one story. Don't tell people, okay? This is my experience. One time we went to the restaurant someplace. I don't want to say all the details. Then you have food. I ordered some food. Then the other people some different confused. First I ordered my wrong choice.
I made a wrong choice.
And also after I don't want to say I'm doing the wrong choice. Then the other people have very delicious food. Then I wish they will give me a little bit. I eating the my one, but still in my second month, I wish they will give me a little bit, Also, they have some different, I have completely different, Usually some people share, foods, I wish, yeah, they will give me a little bit, I try to eat my one, but no one paid attention. They just eat it. They
So then I became unhappy because I didn't get the food that I was hoping for.
Yeah. Do you have this experience? Yeah, this is my experience. That even you can give up this life, it makes more easy to this life. Okay, the next step, if you don't believe, then nothing happen. Okay, this makes sense. Yeah, then give Deborah.
So it seems like it's actually very hard to really practice it, to not be driven by the worldly dharmas. So you want to start, I guess, off slowly, and some situations where you can't. So like going on a retreat might be one place where you can actually try and restrain that the drive for good food and pleasure and praise and everything. Because otherwise, it's so hard because the whole culture is seeking all those things. It's just very difficult.
The 12 months, so that's...
I don't have a question, but just a comment.
12 months, that's some sort of shit like that.
Yeah, this is very difficult. It's because usually Buddha was a 남백이 주념을 가르쳐줬어. 되게 가르쳐서 나도 근데 제가 해와서 나도 가르쳐야 나도 지금 딱 되면 넣었어. 나도 따라 제가 해버렸어.
So yeah, it is difficult to practice, So no matter how much we try to do, and we think we're doing great, but then we don't see any results. That's because we're not doing it correctly.
맨날 가다마도 다 정말 내가 해봐. 다 배사 걸어나면 성화 있나? 쇼게 가고. 쇼게서 말 쇼게 돼. 쇼게 되면 쓰나 돼.
저 튼이 찬이지
튼이죠.
튼수입니다.
튼숨 튼을래야 튼네.
쇼게지다 뭐다지? 아니 쇼게 튼숨 고도 튼숨. 튼레레레 튼든.
아니 다음에 이마 치라.
십신이셔.
튼레지 너바이나? 번은 너는 제레면서 라고 너바도 비도 라고 말았어. 지금 잡아가도 요새 단절해서 되는 거 왔어.
So, like in the benefits of reciting the 21 praises through the 21 taras, so there's the benefit, like, if you recite 2, 3, and 7 times, right? So 2 is 2 times in a day, the morning and the evening. 3 is 3 sessions each time, like 3 sessions in the morning and 3 sessions in the evening. And then during each session, you recite 7 times. So 6 times 3 times in the morning, 3 times in the evening. So 6 times 7. 42 times, right? So if you recite, 21 praises to Tara, 42 times a day, then whatever your wishes will, if you have a wish to have a child, you will have a child. If you have a wish to have wealth, you will have wealth, and so forth. So, but does it mean that just by reciting that we will have it? Not really, right? So if we do it properly, if we don't do it properly, then we might not have the result. But if we do it properly, without any concerns and so forth, then we might have the results.
아니 가서 배에서 재미거든 시험에 났어요. 다른 배에 맞아요. 다저 봐봐 내가 시간 돌에 배에 되다. 다른 사람들이 만져봐도 나서 다도 재미가 따라왔어.
And so we just recite, but we don't do it properly, so that's why we don't get what we really wish for.
Then we say, that doesn't work. Puja doesn't work. Therefore, it is very difficult because we have to do complete opposite to
So it has to be very different from what we usually do, so of course it's going to be difficult.
But it is very fortunate here. You can understand what's good, what's bad. Slowly, even if you cannot do it this lifetime, but they put very big influence. Then next life. Even if we say, okay, yeah, no need to talk too much. Then any other question? Yes.
So if somebody practices to gain a better rebirth in the next life, they want to gain that. How is that not worldly concern too?
Never from somebody didn't choke this order. And that Kyo Chimala didn't know what to do Yanas and somebody never us. And the Jim Joe Mamoris.
The Kuno James Bena Jewa Shama, and it is some challenge, Pento Yamato, Sanji Komato, Tendechi, the Jawa Yapo Yonko Sana, and the Jitachiro Maris. Temo the Tang, I have Yonko some Devana, and Mara Yapo Yonchi to Chubo Santana, and then Jitachio part and run New So Chubo Santana, Temo, you touch pen, Jimbecha, what the Teju in the doors. Temo, that Jimbecha, Sanji, Central Pentoja, Tendechi, the Juma Jawa Yapo.
So yeah, if you think only for the next life, yeah, then it can become a worldly concern. But if you say, okay, I want to have a good rebirth in the future, so that I can, practice Dharma in that life, and then, eventually get enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. If you think like that, then that will not be a worldly concerns.
So, do the Arhat?
Yeah.
So if you practice to achieve liberation, is that worldly concern? Because you want to gain the qualities of liberation?
But the Thubten Damchoe, so should the Thubten Damchoe, the Geshe Ngawang Tenley.
So the Thubten Damchoe.
So never so Thubten so near some numbers, never us.
Never tell mothers. Never the chief, which is never the chief. So Goya Rana, Chalat, the Chalama, she goes to Thubten Damchoe. Shouldn't you put young Bulana go to Marana Magawa? And a mother of color,
I think when we talk about the gain, so not just gaining, not just gaining anything, but gaining like possessions or properties or presents like that. So if you do something and then you will gain some what do you call that, prize or some good results, like especially to do with the to do with material things, then that's what it means, like, so gaining liberation or getting enlightenment, those things not, falling under this.
Not materialistic.
Yeah, the materials, yeah, mostly material things. So then, of course, if you put every gain in every kind of gain, then getting enlightenment for the benefit of all is also a gain, right?
Yeah.
And so then that might also fall into worldly concerns.
So that's where it divides it, is it a materialistic result versus something beyond materialistic?
Yes, mostly to relate it with the delusional things.
Okay?
Thank you, guys.
Okay, then finish. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Don't give up everything, okay?